Morning, 8th grade. Mr. Anderson here. Today we're going to continue on. Last class we finished up with the Declaration of Independence. We learned that it was a document to separate the colonies from England. Had a preamble, basically told some ideas about government, and if the government doesn't work, the people have the right to throw it off if they have justified reasons. Your list of grievances, and then your resolution on what they're going to do. So that was the Declaration of Independence that we learned about last class, and you guys should have created one. Today we're going to continue on. Now we're going to get into the war. So the war for American independence, the American Revolution. And to start out today, we've got the early years of the war. We're also going to learn about some key people. Question 1 today. What was the first major victory for the colonists? Question 2. What happened because of the Battle of Saratoga? Question 3. Who were the important people of the American Revolution? So those are your key questions to guide your notes today. Alright, so when we look at key battles, the first sets of key battles took place in New York. Okay, so up here, specifically Long Island, right in this area here. A couple of them up here, you got Saratoga, things like that. Summer of 1776, so we'd already taken Boston. But things weren't quite going all that well. We got Boston, but we gave up all our other cities, basically. American forces in New York had to keep retreating because they were getting overwhelmed by the British. Patriot spirits became low, and soldiers began to desert. It's not eating ice cream or anything like that. That means they're leaving without permission. They're going AWOL, absence without leave, which is a punishable crime in the military. Then we have things that don't go so well in New York, and it continues on to Trenton. Okay, Trenton is in New Jersey. Okay, so we're looking right in here. So Trenton, and this place takes place December 25th and 26th, 1776. This is also known as the Christmas Crossing. Basically, what happened is Washington is going to lead a surprise attack across the Delaware River in the middle of the night. Some of you guys may have seen the picture where Washington's standing on the front of the boat, got his arms and stuff all propped up. He's got one leg up on the boat, going across to victory. What it was a surprise attack on Christmas Eve because Hessian soldiers who were mercenaries for the British during the Revolution were stationed in Trenton, and they were celebrating basically Christmas, and Washington led the surprise attack. So this was like one of the first major victories for the colonial army during this time. It lifted American morale, so everybody felt better about themselves, and Washington captured 700 Hessian soldiers. Then we get the Battle of Saratoga up in New York. Okay, the Battle of Saratoga took place October 17th, 1777. And Americans basically surround British forces in New York, and they forced the British General Burgoyne to surrender. This was led by our General Horatio Gates, and this is the turning point in the war for us. All right, so early on we have a big turning point in the war. Turning points are those times where things go one way or the other for a side, and Saratoga was our turning point. Because of the victory at Saratoga, the French looked at it and said, hey, these guys have a chance. We're going to become their allies and help them out. So that's what Saratoga brought to the table for us, and it was a huge victory because the French did decide to join us. And then things start to go bad again for us. We get this huge victory at Saratoga, and then we get to Valley Forge. This is the winter of 1777 to 1778. And basically American soldiers suffer terribly. They're starved, they're homesick, freezing because it's cold. So a lot of soldiers once again desert, and Washington has a hard time keeping the army together. Luckily for them, colonials, just regular colonials, aid the army. They gather strength and then prepare for upcoming battles. So the Valley Forge, Winter Valley Forge, was a time where things could have been lost pretty easily, but this showed Washington's leadership. He kept his soldiers together. It also showed the will of the colonists by coming in and supporting their troops. So important people during the American Revolution. We have Sir William Howe. Get my face out of the way so you can get a look at him. That's him right there. Sir William Howe is a British general. Okay, and he's the one that forced Washington to retreat in New York. Pretty solid general for him. He led the British during the worst days of the war for the Patriots. We have Nathan Hale. Okay, that's him right up here. It's kind of hard to see him, but right before he was executed. He was an American spy, and he was captured and put to death. And he showed the highest level of commitment to freedom. He's famous for his quote, "The only regret I have is that I have but one life to give my country." Next, we have Thomas Paine. Anybody remember he wrote, that's right, Common Sense. He wrote Common Sense, which said it's only common sense that people don't be ruled by a king. Thomas Paine, there's a little illustration of him. He wrote The Crisis. Okay, and The Crisis was basically a writing that helped the troops stay committed to freedom. When times were rough, he wrote it, and then it basically kept everybody going. We have George Washington, of course, our first president, also the commander of the Continental Army. This is Washington at the Battle of Trenton in the Christmas Crossing. Very patriotic looking. He commanded Patriot forces in key battles. Great military leader and inspiring hero. We have John Burgoyne. John Burgoyne, who lost to Horatio Gates up at the Battle of Saratoga. That's him. Okay, he planned to cut off all of New England from the colonial army and just kind of isolate them there. That was his whole idea. He was forced to surrender at Saratoga by Horatio Gates. There's Horatio Gates. Kind of a weird looking picture, but he was the American general who surrounded Burgoyne at Saratoga, led to the victory at Saratoga, which was the turning point of the war. Now, if you see in our notes, I've emphasized a couple of times that Saratoga is the turning point of the war. Next, our allies that we're going to pick up. First one is a guy named Marquis de Lafayette. That's him. He was a high-ranking officer from France. He volunteered to help the colonial army, and he was basically a trusted advisor to Washington, helped him win a lot of key battles. We had Thaddeus Kosciuszko. It's him there. He was a Polish engineer, and he built forts for us. West Point, where the Army Academy is at, is basically his creation. Casimir Pulaski. See if I can move this up again. Also from Poland. He helped train our Patriot cavalry. Cavalry is the horses and the soldiers on horses. Baron von Steuben. Okay, if you haven't guessed, he's from Germany. He helped train the Continental Army, taught us how to fight with bayonets, all that good stuff. How to march, how to get a better aim when we're shooting at stuff, and how to use the bayonets. So that's everything for today on the early battles of the American Revolution. Started out bad up in New York here. We basically, Sir William Howe pushed Washington and his troops out of New York. Eventually, we're going to gain ground, get our first real big victory at Trenton in New Jersey. Right here at the Christmas Crossing, we capture 700 Hessian soldiers, George Washington, big feather in his cap. And then the turning point of the war occurs up in New York, up here at the Battle of Saratoga, where Horatio Gates surrounds John Burgoyne's army, and we basically capture the New England states and liberate them from them. Big key battles there, your important people, of course. You got someone we've already talked about, Thomas Paine, writer of the time, kept everybody going with his writings. You had the British generals, William Howe, John Burgoyne, American generals, George Washington, Horatio Gates, and then you had our allies, Baron von Steuben, Casimir Pulaski, Kosciuszko, Lafayette. All those guys helped contribute to an American victory, because without them as a whole, we probably wouldn't have survived, and we wouldn't have made it through the winter at Valley Forge, all that. So hopefully this gives you a little bit of understanding of what's going on. If you have any questions, shoot me an email or let me know in class. You guys have a good day. We'll see you in class.